All eyes are on former President Donald Trump and current VP Kamala Harris as they are set to hit the debate stage tonight, which will be the first time the two political opponents will actually be speaking face to face. Will be Donald Trump's second presidential debate this year, now with a different candidate. The question many are wondering, what does Trump need to do to have a successful debate night against Kamala Harris? Trump does have some things going for him heading into tonight. He, of course, is known for his quick jabs, but that's not all. Many are in awe of the economy that we remember during the years he was in charge. But at the same time, he's known for trying to talk over his opponent. Here to tell us what we can expect to hear from Donald Trump tonight is GOP strategist Whitley Yates. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, polls show that the vast majority of Americans have their minds made up somewhat about Donald Trump, especially compared to Kamala Harris, whose policies are a little bit maybe more in flux than Donald Trump, who's been so well known on the national stage for now. But what can Trump do to have another huge success, as successful a debate as he had in June? Although maybe hopefully he doesn't want to actually drive his opponent out of the race this time.
I think that that's a really great question. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a level of accountability and atonement for Kamala Harris's record, and we are going to attach Biden's record to hers. And so discussing the failures of the current administration and how she not only aided, but actually helped to celebrate the failures of the current administration should be his number one task. It's that their policies do not work for the American people. We don't need to listen to what she said when we've seen the results of how they've led.
Now, he's been preparing in part with the help of Tulsi Gabbard. This has been in the media a lot. Tulsi Gabbard famously hit on Kamala Harris's record around, the imprisonment of people for minor offenses, the imprisonment, or rather jailing of parents for the truancy of their students. If they were absent from class, there could be criminal implications under her, time as Attorney General there of California. I don't think we can expect Donald Trump to be hitting at her from the left on criminal justice, but what are you expecting with the Tulsi Gabbard prep?
Yeah, I definitely think that Tulsi has a unique position and she is able to attack Harris in a way that Trump is not going to be able to. But the value in her helping to prep him is to prepare him. How can you utilize Trump's results and his policies on things like the First Step Act to then go against Harris and talk about how she kept people in prison when they were supposed to be let out and how she utilized prison labor to help continue to fight fires when these people should have been let out, in the juxtaposition to Trump and the First Step Act letting nonviolent offenders out and being able to provide second chances. I think that Tulsi's position in helping him to kind of cultivate that narrative and that messaging is key.
And what do you think about Trump, calling out some of these policy flip-flops Kamala Harris has had in recent weeks, with her saying she no longer stands by decriminalizing the border, she no longer stands by her electric car mandate for 2040, and fracking, and on and on and on. Given the format, will Trump be able to effectively, say, well, what does she... The political stance she has now, is that her true stance, or is she actually secretly a progressive and she's trying to pretend that she's a moderate? Is he going to be making that case?
He most definitely needs to make that case, and I don't know if he will. That's what we need to be watching for, because the truth is we don't know what we're going to get with Kamala Harris. We don't know who she is from 2016 to 2020 to 2023, even now in 2024. She's flip-flopped on so many of her stances that she will say whatever is politically profitable in order to get in a position of power and to maintain that position of power. She will take credits for the wins of the Biden administration, while the failures and the losses of that administration she will completely distance herself from. And so he must be able to be an effective communicator, to not get caught off guard or down some rabbit hole, and be able to stay on message so that the American people can understand the difference between the two candidates.
Now, Trump has gone from, pandering a little bit to the community of Christian evangelists who are very pro-life, very rather anti-abortion, to the extent of being against IVF treatments because they believe that embryos, are living beings with a right to life. He's now said he would like to have publicly funded free IVF for people. He's gone back and forth on his reproductive rights stance quite a bit Do you expect this to come up tonight? And what are you expecting from Trump?
I absolutely expect it to come up because, to be quite honest, the left has made this entire campaign about reproductive rights of women, about the Dobbs decision, about Roe v. Wade, and about abortion. And so where Trump stands on these issues is going to be very important, specifically with the group that he's not doing his best in, which is the suburban white women. And so his stance, not only on IVF, but his stance on abortion, sending it back to the states and being able to say, hey, I washed my hands of this, and it is up to you to rally and to go and to advocate for yourselves within your state house is going to be very important, especially when all eyes are on him. And he obviously is competing for the top office in the land against a woman, which would be the first woman in office. And so he already knows he's going to be at a disadvantage. So how he's able to overcome those objections and show not only that he values women, but that his stance is what's best for America will be the deciding factor for those women.
Trump has also been criticized quite a bit in the last couple of days from the mainstream media for comments about lashing out, political revenge against opponents, all that sort of thing. The kind of stuff that his true hardcore base loves, but the swing voters, the moderate voters, the independents, the Republican-leaning but Trump-skeptical people who need to vote Trump in order for him to win this election, is he going to be in a state of mind to temperamentally speak to these people?
I think he is going to be in a state of mind to temperamentally speak to these people. He has debated more presidents and been in more presidential debates than any other candidate in the history. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but what I can say is that he has been prepared and has been preparing for things like this. But the truth is, when you're looking at some of the indictments, when you're looking at some of the scandals and FBI raids and all of these things that he's endured, including an assassination attempt in this presidency, in this run for president, and then looking at his polls to show that he's still close within the polls, he's still within 1 or 2 points and or leading in some of the most recent polls that we've seen. The truth is that his message has been resonating. We can't necessarily pin down with all the people that it's resonating with, but based upon these polls, it's been minority communities. And so what I think he's going to be able to do is really put aside some of those types of attacks and really just focus on the economy, focus on immigration, focus on inflation and what he's going to do versus what they haven't done, and stay focused on that.
Now, I will say Donald Trump is someone who's flip-flopped a lot on the issues. He's gone back and forth on a lot of his policies around the economy. He didn't really give a direct answer when talking to the Economic Club of New York recently. He was asked about what the impact fiscally, macroeconomically will be, specifically on the deficit. If his tax plan as proposed is passed, this involves no taxes on tips. He's now proposed reduced corporate taxes again, going from 32 to 21 under his presidency. Now he's proposed that being as low as 15. Do you think the deficit is going to be a liability for Donald Trump, given that it's become such a focus?
I do think that the deficit will be a focus specifically for conservative Republicans, because a lot of Republicans are not conservative, and the fiscally conservative Republicans want to know how we are going to tackle the deficit. And in his administration, he added to that deficit quite a bit. Now, granted, there was a pandemic that was unprecedented, and we did have to spend more than we had spent in the past to really tackle what was happening. But the truth is, we have to get the deficit and spending under control. We also have to make sure that inflation is not high, shrinkflation is not high. And so he is going to have to rectify these things. But I think what will happen is people will think about the economy under Trump, how they felt, how their pockets were, and how their portfolio was performing, and be able to utilize that to rest easy that he is the person for the job.
Whitley Yates, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.